Hi guys, and welcome to Global Film Pool. Today I will be reviewing The Missing, which made its UK premiere at the London Queer East Festival. It is an animated film directed by Carl Joseph Papa. It tells the story of Eric, a graphic designer who is in the early stages of a relationship with Carlos. On the discovery of his uncle's death, he has to process the trauma of being a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. The film was the Philippines' official submission for this year's Oscars, but however, it was not shortlisted for the prize. This video will contain a review of the film, followed by some analysis of how the Philippines have done at the Oscars. If you are new to my channel, I review the best of world cinema and follow the race for Best International Feature Film Oscar, from countries selecting their submission for the Oscars to the eventual winner. Let's turn to the review section of the film. I really admire this film. There's lots I like about it. The animation in particular is very impressive. Rotoscope is used as a technique to enable really believable performances. In particular, the relationship between Eric and Carlos feels really tender and authentic, and you're just gripped by how they connect and how the barrier of Eric's trauma kind of affects that relationship. And obviously, you've got the legendary Dolly de Leon, who starred in The Triangle of Sadness. She plays the mother, and she plays the role really effectively. And this rotoscope animation allows the sort of human emotions to come through because of its naturalistic approach to animation. The film uses alternative forms of animation, in particular this sort of childlike animation when he's reflecting back to his traumatic childhood. And it brings a different dimension, that kind of contrast to the realist element of the rest of the film. I really also appreciate the use of metaphors in this film. In particular, he loses his mouth as if he can't speak, and then bits of his face and his body fall off, which you can interrelate with the shame that he's holding because of the trauma that he's suffering. And I think that metaphor works really well. Perhaps the bit that didn't work so well was the use of sci-fi and this alien element. It felt a bit like Gregor Kaki's Mysterious Skin, and it perhaps took me out of the moments when there was sort of tender or really heartfelt trauma that was being shown on the screen. And I think that's potentially more sort of personal preference as someone who's perhaps not imaginative enough to deal with sci-fi or enjoy sci-fi. So I think it's a very personal element for the director, but it just didn't work for me. While it doesn't necessarily fit my personal taste to incorporate the sci-fi element, overall the film still perfectly works. It's really sad, it's really tender, and certainly lots of human emotion, especially for an animated film. The ending in particular just blew me away, and that's where all the emotions really stuck, and I was almost in tears. So it's a really great film, and if you get the opportunity to see it, it has a lot of interesting thoughts and ideas. So now is the section where I do a bit of analysis of how Philippines have done in the Oscars. So as I said before, this film was not shortlisted by the Academy. It was just a nomination for the Philippines. In fact, the Philippines have never been shortlisted for the Academy Award. They've never had any nominations, and they've never won the Academy Award. They have submitted 34 films over the years, with their first submission in 1953 for the film Genghis Khan. They are actually the first country to submit for the Oscars when the category was introduced that still hasn't been nominated for the award. So there's a sort of burden that they still hold, but hopefully that they overcome it very soon. If we look at the table, only Portugal and Egypt have submitted more without ever receiving a shortlisted nomination or an Academy Award in the category. While Philippines submissions have been quite mixed, there has been some notable films put forward, in particular Verdict, which I felt actually should have been shortlisted, but also Lav Diaz's Notre, The End of History. While it's very art house, he's got a lot of style and cinematic presence that should be seen. The Missing was actually quite a clever nomination by the Philippines. It's got Dolly de Leon, who is iconic from The Triangle of Sadness, a big name from a film that had previously been nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, The Triangle of Sadness. However, it's also an animation, and while there are some films, such as Denmark's Flea, which has received a Best International Feature Film nomination, it also received nominations for Best Documentary and Best Animation. However, it is very rare for animations to actually progress to the nomination stage unless they're in the race for the Best Animated Film. And unfortunately, The Missing was not in contention for that prize. So I felt that disabled it from being able to be competitive in the category. On my own personal ranking of the Best International Feature Film at this year's Academy Awards, I wouldn't necessarily put forward The Missing in the shortlist. It just misses out for me, for the reasons I've given in the review. However, it's still a very good quality film. And with that and verdict, it's only a matter of time until the Philippines can actually be really competitive in the category and maybe make the shortlisting phase or the nomination phase. And who knows, it may one day win the Academy Award. So that's my review and analysis of the Philippines' The Missing. Stay tuned for more reviews and analysis of world cinema and the Best International Feature Film Oscar.